Yeah.
For about.
Well, I'm going to the Greenwood pub next.
Oh yeah,
because we did a pub.
Oh yes, I saw
and they
that.
won it. They won
yeah,
it.
that
we
was
had
really
loads
good.
of entries for Greenwood pub, so I'm looking forward to that. And so
They've become a real community. You might want, if you want to mention
we'll talk
that,
about
they've become a real sort of community involvement. Because it used to be they were just existed, but now they're really involved.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. Shall we start? I'll do the hello, I'm here with Saqib Bhatti, who is our MP for Meriden.
Yes, that's right.
Meriden, these strange boundaries. And so I've invited to come along just to talk a bit about what's going on and what's going on in the scene. Obviously, there's a bigger picture going on in the world at the moment. But for this, people are particularly interested in how you get involved locally, and particularly in the north of the borough. So I don't know if you want to start and then see where we go.
Well, look, thanks a lot, Neil, first of all, inviting me onto this podcast. But, I've just had my surgery, which I have. So I'm the MP for Meriden.
Not medical surgery.
No, not medical. It's a political surgery. So people come and see me for...
It's like, what's wrong with him?
For casework. So it might be lots of different things. I get planning issues. I get housing issues. I get issues around law and order. So we had an issue today dealing with the police,
right.
With a constituent isn't getting the service that they think they should get from the police, etc. And you get a whole array of things. And I do those. I do weekly surgeries. I try and get around the constituency, and I do one in my office in Solihull, and I do one in Chelmsley Wood, basically. And it used to be Chelmsley Wood Library, which is a great location, which I'd normally do on a Saturday. But I've found myself coming to Three Trees a lot more, which I think is a great venue.
Well, it's nice to see you here.
Honestly, it's a great community centre, and it's just so always buzzing. The cafe is great, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I like to buy a bit of Starburst and a cup of tea, so we've just done that. And I'm also then now about to go to, after doing this, I'm going to go to the Greenwood pub,
right?
Because I did a pub competition, and the Greenwood pub got so many entries and support, and so I mean they won basically by
as we were saying, the Greenwood pub has really got involved with the community, hasn't it? Particularly the last. Well, more recent times. I mean, it's always been a very local kind of pub, but it's been really upped its game. It's been great to see it.
Honestly, and and you could see the interest from locals, and so thank you to everyone who voted for the Greenwood pub and doing that. It really does make a difference, and you were miles and miles ahead, Greenwood pub. So well done. I can't wait to see you. And then look, we're obviously in the midst of local elections and mayoral elections.
Yes.
I'll try. I won't get too political unless you want me to, but the couple of things I'm working on.
You better put your pitch in on
We've secured. I've secured a community diagnostic centre, which we're trying to get opened up, which is really important. That's in the north of Solihull.
Can you give us a bit of detail on what that?
So this was basically, obviously post-COVID, it's been really hard to get GP appointments. It's been really difficult, and trying to get waiting lists down. And I've had it with my own family where I'm trying to call in the morning and you'll get cut off, or it's just been really, really challenging.
Yeah, that's been a real issue here. I know that for our community that is one of our number one probably health related things.
It's really stressful. Yeah. It's really stressful, and obviously underlying everything here is that there is a difference in service as well. When I first got elected, I was told that if you go from the difference between the north and the south, it's a 10-year difference in life expectancy. Yes. And so I'm very conscious that you've got to have good services, and so what we campaign for is better health services actually across the constituency. So at Solihull Hospital, we've got an urgent treatment centre. That's really important. So which I've used as well. So if sometimes the GP can't see you, it's effectively like a walk-in centre. You make an appointment, you go in. So my 2-year-old had a temperature a couple of weeks ago. I took him in and he got him checked out, etc. Really good, fast service. In the north, we've got a CDC, it's called, and I secured this. And basically, it means that 116,000, almost 116,000 GP appointments will be covered by this CDC, and that's coming to Chelmsley Wood. And that is it was a huge win. I'm really proud of it. I'm pushing the Integrated Care Board, who are responsible for delivering it, to get it opened, because it should have been opened a few months ago, so there's a bit of a delay. But I'm putting pressure on to say we need this open.
And where will that be based? Is it
I haven't seen the site yet, but it's going to be near Chelmsley Wood Shopping Centre. So, and they're refurbishing it, so it's going to be a dedicated space. to this. So I'm really proud that we've got that.
So will that be like a GP surgery, but not
just for diagnostic testing? So it'll be
Right.
scans, X-rays, things like
Right,
that. And what I'll be doing is, as it comes closer to opening, I'll be sending out correspondence to tell people what all the services it provides. And the whole idea is, I think it's the lights gone off.
Okay.
So the whole idea is to kind of take some of the pressure off the GP services. And you might have seen that we've also empowered pharmacies now to do some of your more common ailments as well.
Yes, I've seen that.
So the idea is to spread the load across the health service, and to take that load off GP services so they can look at the urgent stuff.
I think that's one of the issues, isn't it, with health, is making how do you make it accessible? So because one of the issues with the health differences, I mean, this is just my view, is that if it's too hard, you don't bother.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's good because within a few days you're all right again.
Totally right.
But quite often not. And it is better with health things, particularly I realise this as I'm getting older, is to get it checked.
Yeah.
But if it's too hard, you just put it off, and then before you know it, 6 months have gone by and more months. So I think anything that makes access to any sort of healthcare easier is
hugely important. And there might be teething issues or whatever, but we want to get it open.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it works out. So that's really important. I'm trying to get a front desk at Chelmsford Wood Police Station, which has been one of my campaigns.
Right. How long has that one been gone now? I can't remember now.
It's been a while. It's been a while. So, but when I knock on doors, whether it's in Kingshurst or Ford Bridge or Chelmsford Wood or Smithswood, I've been getting on the doorstep. This comes up a lot, and a lot of people are concerned about antisocial behaviour. A lot of people are concerned about general crime as well. And my view, it doesn't have to be a 24/7 desk, but there should be a front desk for the station, because people should have a route. It's a kind of a confidence thing, and this isn't rocket science. It should be easy to do. We've got resource. I think West Midlands Police have had £800 million nearly. It's just over 790. It's a record amount of funding. We've got 1,300 new police officers for the whole of West Midlands. So we want more officers, and that's coupled with my campaign to save Solihull Police Station as well. So I'm trying to stop that from closure as well. So that's been a ongoing campaign since 2016. So way before I became an MP.
Because people feel when those things go that there's just another thing taken away, don't they? And then it kind of adds a bit. I mean, a bit more to the despair, doesn't it? So you just feel you're less engaged and you've got less investment in your community.
Right.
I mean, we've got good neighbourhood watch teams here, and they're always. In fact, one of the people was on here a few weeks back. So people are interested in it. I think that's the issue, isn't it? Because sometimes you could go, well, no one really cares. There's ASB and no one cares. Actually, they do. But I think when it feels like that the police are stepping back for whatever reason, you kind of think, well, actually, I've got to just pull down the shutters myself. Yeah. So that
people, it shouldn't be hard. And actually, by the way, I think this is above party politics. By the way, so although this is a hugely political issue, and we're in the midst of it right now. So I'm going to save your listeners all the ins and outs of it. but the truth is, I've said this to the Police and Crime Commission before. We actually had the Home Secretary come to Chelmsford Wood Police Station last year, or just a year and a half ago. And I said, look, this isn't about who takes credit. Let's just get this done, because we want people to feel safe. We want families to live in safety. We want, there's a sign. And, the north of Solihull, ever since I've got elected, people who say, we're neglected, or we don't feel that we get the same chances that everyone else does. And so I'm here. And I see it as my duty to fight for everybody, but also to make sure that isn't the reality and that isn't the truth. And so part of this, the police station, the health service, that's really important.
And when one part of the borough thrives, actually all of it thrives,
I agree.
Isn't it? And it's, if you've got little pockets that are struggling, I mean, that's what society is about, isn't it?
Totally.
Once one bit of society is doing well, it supports the other. And I'm a big supporter of that. That's good stuff. And like you say, I think some of this stuff it cuts through party political lines. Obviously, that's the way our government works, our system. But there are issues. I mean, for me as a non-political person,
yes, I'm trying to protect your status.
No, you can say what you like. But I think as not being directly involved in a political party, I think we'll cut to Faith maybe in a bit. Faith, I think, is political. But there are some issues that you look on you watch politicians doing their thing and you think this isn't really about party politics. Actually, there should be things that actually is common ground. And I suspect there will be policies that one party puts in place, and when the next one comes in, they just carry it on because it's right and it works.
Yeah.
And then they'll take credit for it.
Yeah. Well, they'll try to.
Yeah.
That's politics. But I mean, that's what your manifestos are about. And I'll, by the way, I should give you credit, because I don't think I've ever said this to you, but I remember in 2019 when I did my hustings here, it was a good hustings, because it was a fair. Sometimes you go to hustings and it can be a bit brutal. I'll be honest with you. But you managed it very well, and I thought we got to the gist of issues that affected people and what parties were going to do about it, rather than you said this, he said this, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I it was quite good. We're hoping to do it again.
Good. I look forward to it.
If and when the date's announced.
Yeah.
And I think people are quite political, even though I think the turnout here is quite low, isn't it? And that's something that our local council said about vote. Make sure you vote.
Yeah.
People are aware. It's not that they don't think about these things. I think there's a disengagement across the country, isn't there, with politics, because people just see that, well, they have views on what politicians are up to and how engaged they are. I mean, I think you've been a good MP for us.
Thank you. Thanks.
And we've this corner of Solihull Hull is notoriously not conservative, but I think we have been served.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'm not just saying that. And there will obviously be people that will probably be on that. No, it's terrible. But it's partly your own. You can only speak from your own experience.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
And I think you've championed the community as well, and that's partly what we need, because a lot of the resources and the skills are here. It's a great community, and sometimes you just need someone to go, look, we can champion this, we can support this, and things like around health and education make a big difference, because it helps the community, it gives the community the tools it needs.
I think I said it in my maiden speech. It was a very carefully crafted speech, and I talked about the North, and basically I recognised, and I genuinely believe this. It wasn't just words. That you've got so many good people here who want to do good things, and sometimes life can be a bit of a lottery, and you don't always get the best chance in life. You don't get the best opportunity. We as politicians have a responsibility to help that. Whether it's a college, I do a careers fair in Smithswood, Solihull College. I could do that anywhere. I chose Smithswood because I wanted to bring some of the biggest businesses from across the country. We had Rolls Royce and BAE and all these guys there, with the RAF there and the military and the police. So we make sure the opportunities are there. I'm working with Andy Street on a new proposal, which we're going to... when does this go out? Does this go out?
It'll probably be next week.
Oh,
which,
fine.
If you're watching it, it's now.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, well, sorry to lift the lid. But so we're going to... I can say this because tomorrow I'm in Chelsea with Andy Street, because I wanted to build a college I want to bring skills here, basically. It's not always the case that you build something in central Birmingham, for example, and then expect everyone to go there.
Yeah.
And you want to give them chances. So I had an idea for a college to give people some of the best skills around food manufacturing and culinary college. And I know Glyn Pennell's from this area, for example.
Yes.
And that got me thinking. And I'd lectured at University College Birmingham before, and seen they've got this great restaurant which trains maitre d's, etc. And so I can say it because it's going to go out next week. So tomorrow we're going to go to the site that and I spoke to Andy about it in October last year. Within 6 months we've basically got a site, and we're going to be talking about how we launch that. And so for me, I'm just getting started, and I just think actually you've got to bring opportunity to people. We've got to attract investment. You've got to have businesses here. Andy's big thing, by the way, he's obviously in charge of transport. And buses is a big issue around here, right? And so I spoke to Andy. It was post-COVID. What we had was 13% lower usage than before COVID, which means we were going to lose loads of services. So it's been he really has fought to make the business case work with these companies to make sure that the routes are there.
Because once it starts to slide, people stop using it, don't they?
Totally right, and we need to. So we're trying to get usage up. The government's guaranteed the £2 bus fare, which I thought was great because to encourage that. And then I've gone back to National Express and said, look, if we need new routes, what do we need to do? And they're talking about doing new business cases. Now, some of these things take time, but I'm very keen. And Andy's got the whole metro plan as well, which
I saw that the trams.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, so, there's obviously mixed views on this. I mean, personally, I'm a fan. Anything that makes it easier for our community to link into to work and to leisure and all the stuff around, because it's a great part of the world to be in as well. So anything that helps us move around, it
Totally.
can only be good. Yeah.
And all of this is about create the opportunity, right? And
Yeah.
give people the chance to grasp that opportunity, and then you give them the choice.
Yeah.
And I try and do that through my politics a lot, because I believe that if you give individual choice, they have the right to choose for themselves. So I have a very soft spot for this space. When I first wanted to be a candidate, I called up Caroline Spellman, Dame Caroline, and two things she said to me. She said, never forget Chelmsley Wood.
Yeah.
That's what she said. And then the other thing I said, where's a great place to go get fish and chips? And she mentioned Chelmsford's fish and chips.
Very good.
So she's always...
See, this has been a new thing for me, that the business stuff is a new venture for me, because I've been in the voluntary charity sector for so long.
Yeah.
And then we've developed this, partners in the air to have a community-owned businesses, and that idea. I mean, that's my thinking's really developed in terms. I used to just think we just need resources, we need better this and better that, and someone else needs to pay for it. Which there's sometimes that is the case.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot to be said for a community saying, actually, we'll grow our own resources, thanks, and we'll do what we want, thanks. And that there's power in that, I think, and that. It's not about a selfish empowerment, because I think once you believe you can do this, then you think, well, the next issue we're facing, we can do that as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And you can, and there's a psychological thing there as well, because it will train whoever you put into those businesses. It will train them up to think like that as well. And I'm hopeful that there'll be other social enterprises, and obviously you have my support.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I see the ask coming.
My ideal dream would be that actually there's a network of businesses across this area that are owned by the community. So the community is basically the shareholder in them, and it's a range of stuff. And then we're employing our community, we're training our young people.
Great, yeah.
And our community can say this is ours, and the money isn't going to some shareholders or other countries or whatever. Yeah. Everything it makes back into our community, and it's the old village idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of the local economy. I employ my neighbour to do a job, and it all comes around. And then they employ me to do what I can do. It's a great
and people are so proud of where they come from. If you're from Chelmsford Wood, there is pride there actually about it. And look, I went to see Jaguar Land Rover the other day, and just making sure that their business is chugging on, because that's a great employer. There are lots of employers, and we've had the most amount of investment, outside of London, I think, for a long time, and that's been really, really positive, because that means you get the businesses, and then you get the demand being created. And then you've got the colleges, vocational centres. Solihull College is doing a great job in terms of training people up, whether it's construction or vocational skills. And so it's a great thing to do to give people opportunity. But one final thing I'll say is
that's good, because I got another question.
I was going to say I've done that politicians thing. Got to go on a bit. But I never told you this. The person who got me involved in politics, he was from Lascelles, but he went to school at Kingshurst Technical College.
Oh, right.
And he was a special advisor to David Cameron. And so he was back in the Midlands once, and a friend introduced me, and we just started chatting. And so it's just weird, like, when you start to think about, I was thinking, should I be a member of Parliament? And you go through that journey. And the person who actually encouraged me along the way was from around this patch, really, and knows the area really well.
It's a good call.
So I'm incredibly proud of this area.
That's great. To take us that direction, you're the Minister for Tech.
Yes.
It's longer time than that, isn't it? But you said say
Tech
that.
and digital economy.
Which is fascinating. Can you give us a brief overview of what that is? So
back in November, got a call from the Prime Minister saying, I have...
Which one was that?
Cheeky.
Thought I'd get that
cheeky. Rishi Sunak called me, and he said, I want you to be... I'm doing my reshuffle, and I want you to be the Minister for Tech.
This is good. It's nice having our MP having a significant role. That's good for us, as a community.
By the way...
But in Merida, we can be proud of that.
Thank you. It's hugely important, because actually the challenge I have sometimes, so I cover artificial intelligence and semiconductors and digital inclusion and digital skills and all this kind of stuff, right? It's really dense stuff, some of it. The challenge you have is you're trying to make sure that when you're doing your local stuff, you're kind of linking it back to people.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is...
That's what I wanted to talk, because AI is a fascinating
Yeah.
subject,
Yeah.
isn't it? Is it scary, or is it,
Well, I don't think AI is going to take over the world.
No.
And I was watching, but the problem I always find is there's a lot of sensationalism around it. So I was watching Mission Impossible the other day. Have you seen the latest one?
No, I haven't.
So in the latest one, basically AI takes over the world. And I often joke, I say, oh, well, I don't know what's going to happen because I've not seen the sequel, right? But the reality is, I don't think it is going to take over the world. It's not going to become sentient.
You don't think it ever will become sentient?
I think it requires a lot of computing power, and so to get to that, we're a long way away from that.
But we're moving so fast, aren't we? I mean, even in my lifetime, we've moved so fast. The human brain is sentient. And it's very compact.
Well, in a year and a half, so a year and a half ago, ChatGPT, no one knew what that was, right? So you're right, it has moved fast. But these large language models, as they're called, they can be really a tool for good as well. So one statistic I'm going to bore you with this, but it's a software called Brainomics. So stroke centres across the UK and NHS trusts, 37 NHS trusts are using this, and they are using AI to look at scans. And so
it picks things up, doesn't it?
It picks things up. So 3 times more people who previously would not have been able to return to normal functionality are now able to do that after having had a really severe stroke. And you are starting to see how AI is transforming the way we work and the way we live. The challenges, of course, with that are you've got to make sure people are skilled up. So we've just launched these skills workshops, 16 weeks, completely free, job interview at the end. So that's been really good.
What are the workshops in?
They're in data science, web development, software development, cloud computing, loads of really, really good stuff. And they're basically boot camps that are really flexible.
I think I've seen them.
That's good. That's good. That's reassuring. So, because my brother did one about a year ago, and I thought, what a great idea. In fact, I met someone when we were promoting this. I was at Google's headquarters, and we were promoting this, and this young lady had been in temporary work for about 20 years, but had a desire to do this, and now is doing cybersecurity in a global firm, and good above average salaries. It's a really good.
It is a good industry to be in, isn't it? And it's quite accessible, isn't it? Because you don't need loads of kit to start with, and you can learn from home, can't you? A lot of it can be done.
Totally. So AI's got there's a huge opportunity. What we've done as the UK, so the Prime Minister did something called the Bletchley Summit, which was you might remember, there was a big hoo-ha around AI safety back in October last year. That was the first time in the world anyone had done that. So we had 28 countries plus the EU come and sign something called the Bletchley Declaration.
So is this about trying to manage
the
where it goes? Because one of the fears is with AI is that if you stop people doing something, the chances are someone's already doing it. If you think, well, we're never going to let them do that, that means either someone's doing it, or it can be done soon. So someone will do it in a different country, or in a secret bunker.
So AI doesn't recognise borders, right? So the first thing was getting all these countries around the table and to talk about this. And since then I've been to the G7 and I've talked to our counterparts, and we are generally recognised across the world of having led the charge on this, and I'm really proud of this. So on AI, what we're doing is when the companies who come up with these models, they basically share them with our safety institute. We test it and try and identify where there might be risks and stuff.
But how do you police something like? Because like I said, there's no borders or boundaries. How can you police AI if someone's developing it to do things that perhaps we wouldn't want it to do? How
three ways. So
it's the ethics of it as well.
The ethics is really interesting on this. So we might have to do a separate podcast on this. But
yes, well, let's do that. Let's book it. We'll do that another time.
I'll do one. Wait till I get on semiconductors. It's really fascinating.
I don't know
the microchips and all that. So AI basically, first of all, tech companies have to respect the voluntary relationship. They have to do that, right? If that doesn't happen, we've said we will legislate basically.
Right.
The second thing is we haven't legislated. What we've said is the regulators in different sectors. So in finance, the Financial Conduct Authority, or the Competition Markets Authority, or in data, the Information Commissioner, they've got responsibilities in their sectors to see AI being used properly, basically. And we're giving them resources. So we've just given them £10 million to increase their capacity. And the third thing is our international relationship. So my boss, the Secretary of State, has just signed a deal with the US to share best practice with their safety institute. I'm very keen for if every country wants to do a safety institute, I say great, right?
Yeah.
And let's then share that knowledge and that experience, because we may test for something.
That's the thing I think is people being willing to share, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not convinced that about self-regulation. If you look at some of the social media, the way that's I mean, I know there's been some advancements on that.
Yeah, which by the way I'm also responsible for.
So I guess you would be.
This is a hot potato. But we've just had the Online Safety Act come through, and I mean I'm going to give you.
Do you think? I mean, obviously you're going to say yes, but do you think it's going to work, or do you think that?
No, I do. I do, because the Ofcom are responsible, and the way we've done it is we've said the social media companies have to uphold their terms and conditions. So we're like in what we call the implementation phase right now, and so Ofcom are doing all their consultations. My big challenge, by the way, to the social media companies is you don't have to wait for Ofcom to tell you what to do.
Yeah,
they should just get on with it, right? And we know what the risks are.
And does Ofcom have teeth to deal
they can
with?
fine, so there's criminal liabilities, there's fine. I think there's 10% of global turnover is one of the things they can do.
They send them to prison.
I think there's criminal liability for directors actually, so there should be.
That's the kind of thing you want, isn't it? Because otherwise they just think, I'll fine my company, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because
although 10% of global turnover is a lot of money,
yeah.
that's a lot. So,
but if you're already a multimillionaire, who cares?
Yeah, but then all that money it starts to bite. And we're actually a really good place to do tech. So we're the third most valuable tech economy in the world. This as of last year, worth $1 trillion, and we've created more jobs now, 20% more than pre-COVID levels.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I speak to tech companies, and you look across into Europe. They've got antitrust stuff going on, anti-competition stuff going on. You look at America, and actually we've got a pretty good space here. And the West Midlands is doing really well as well. So I basically, coming back to where we are now, we want to make sure that our people, young and old, any age, any stage, get those skills and can get involved and get.
I think that's really what will show people getting involved in it is creating work. In a sense, the market will balance it out, because all these things about people trying to take over the world and stuff, I know that some people seek power, but businesses are driven by making money, and they're not going to do stuff. If it doesn't make money, they're not going to do it. Yeah. So I think that actually is a bit of a safety valve.
Yeah. I wish they did. I wish they did. I'm pro business, etc. But I also believe business has a role to play in society.
Yes, I think done well.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Birmingham, you see it with Cadbury. Historically, they showed how business actually enhances and benefits a city, doesn't it?
Totally. So the ministerial stuff is really interesting.
Yeah.
Semiconductors. I mean, microchips are in everything we do, and it's the one thing I've really learned a lot about. And we've got some real strength in that as well. So,
were you into this before, or did you have to do a lot of homework?
I've had to do a lot of homework as well, because no matter how much you know, you need to learn more.
Yeah, and it changes. I guess it's really.
It changes, yeah. But we're trying to support it. The EU and America will write big checks, and China will write big checks. We try and do it differently. We try and get the private sector involved.
Yeah.
I think that's working. I think that's a good way to do it, because obviously every time we spend government spends money, it's taxpayers' money. It's not our money. We're spending someone else's money. So. The more you can get the private sector to do stuff. And Andy Street says this actually. He was helped bring so much investment. I think the Legal in General investing $4 billion in Birmingham. You might have to check the figures because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he will say that if you spend $1 billion from government, in one deal you've got $4 billion from a private company.
Yeah.
And so yes, they make profits, but we need to get them reinvesting in our communities. I think.
Well, there's a whole conversation there about private investment in their water companies and things, but perhaps that's one for the hustings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, can't wait. Can't wait. But no. I mean, again, the water companies have a responsibility. And there's a lot more knowledge and understanding of what's going on. We have a Victorian system, for example, around that stuff, and it's really important that those water companies invest and do that. And if they're not doing it, they need to be answerable.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah.
And so that's really important, because I think most people just assumed that or we just didn't have the knowledge of before. Before I was a politician, I hadn't really looked at sewage outflows.
Yeah, you try and think about it.
Yeah, you try to think about it. So, but now obviously I'm very au fait with it, and actually we are. We've increased fines. We've gone off the big thing we've done actually. The reason you get more information is in the Environment Act we made sure there was much more data around the outflows.
Yes, and I think knowing what's going on is important, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Well, time's getting on. I said it would only be 10 minutes, and we've been a lot longer.
Oh, have we? Okay.
Just before we wrap it up, one of the things we often ask people when they come on, I say often, we haven't done that many podcasts, is where faith fits in, because I'm a big fan of the secular state. I've been a good Baptist, but I'm always intrigued and fascinated by how people's faith or spirituality influences them. Are you happy to speak a bit
no, totally. So Neil, I'm Muslim, so obviously Abrahamic religion, etc. Whatever. I don't know if I ever told you, I used to be head choir boy. When I was at school, so I could do. If I sang Silent Night when I was 11, I would bring a tear to your eyes. And then,
do you want to do it now?
No, I know. Well,
you could sing.
I'd probably make you cry for different reasons. My voice broke, and then that was my singing career is over. But my best friend, he's Anglican. We often sit and talk about faith and things, and it's just fascinating about how much we have in common.
Yes.
And we've been best mates since we were 11 years old. And we are, faith for us. By the way, he's a stem cell research scientist, so he has different ethical issues he has to think about. Yeah. But for me in politics, I try and whether it's I'm in the Westminster bubble, I try and just go back to kind of my basic principles and of doing good. And if you are trying to do good, I find, especially in politics, generally you can't go far wrong. And for me, the test is you have to be able to sleep at night. If I meet my maker, what am I going to say? And what I've done, and that is probably my driver. And it's great to see what religious institutions are doing around. The churches here are doing an amazing job. Really,
I'm a big fan of faith communities, because I think one of the things they do is they get involved, generally speaking, in their communities. And there are those forces and those media drives that will try and divide people and between faiths, but actually most people of reason and of faith will say, at the end of the day, my faith is a faith. I think all the world faiths are faiths of peace, and they're about actually making the world a better place. That's partly why you follow them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So even if you may disagree on some of it, and you may think, well, that's a fundamental disagreement, it isn't generally on the value of human beings, on these sort of ethical questions.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's so much in common between the faiths. And it's great to see. It's great to see people of faith, whatever faith, I think, involved in every aspect of society. Because the temptations, you look at politics, and I don't have anything to do with that. Or you look at business.
Yeah.
But what that you want people involved.
Yeah, and actually, I worry at the moment, and there is a bit of apathy and disenfranchisement with politics, and for various reasons, which I'm sure we'll get drawn out of the hustings at some point.
Yeah, do the hustings.
But there is that, right? And I would argue actually there's been a slow kind of it's been going on for a while where you feel it, and actually ultimately, what you need in politics is what faith also gives you, which is hope. And I think that's a core issue, or a core message that you have to stick to. And I have to always remind myself, if I'm talking about semiconductors, how do I give hope to people around around that? But you've got to, but also around the local issues here. I want to be delivering for people.
Yeah.
And I was in business before. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce that covered this area. I had a very good professional career, but I left all of that because I thought I had a calling here to, or I felt the need to kind of serve people, and that's why I've done this job. It's down to my constituents to decide whether the next election whether they want me back or not. But I've always thought whenever this journey ends, you have to be incredibly proud of what you've done.
Yes.
And work hard for that. So for me, and all of that is it runs parallel to my faith, because again, for me, it's about being in service really and giving that giving back. So.
And I think it is about serving God, isn't it? And that, I think, hope. I mean, we're big on the faith, hope, love. Verse from our scriptures. And I love that the fact that those three have been clustered together, and it sounds a bit, well, people, you get the impression it's sentimental, but love actually I think is the most powerful thing we've got, and that drives what we do, and sometimes think, well,
we need more love in society. And when I say that, it's if you go online or pick a paper, sometimes it's all doom and gloom actually. But and yet you come in here and Three Trees and you sit down and have a cup of tea with people and talk to them. They will there is so much good happening in the world, and we've got to try and kind of battle back those forces that try and cause division, really.
And here, like a lot of places, not across the borough, across the country, really, there are places of hope. And I think when people think it doesn't have to be like this, or however dark it may have got, I can get through it. That's for me. That's what the message is about. And I don't care whether people come to church or not. I don't care. But I do care about people's sense of hope and value, and are they loved, and are they able to love? If those bits come right, everything else follows on.
And so I genuinely think this is the greatest country in the world, right? And the reason I do is because I think when we get what we do right and we have that message of hope, we can be a beacon for the world. I'm getting all emotional now, but I think but the truth is, I whether it was COVID and getting vaccines and the sense of community that we had and all that stuff, a lot of people have forgotten that now, but because it does seem like a lifetime away, right? But actually, there was lots of great stuff happening.
It brought out the best.
It
brought out some dodgy stuff, but overall, it brought out the best of
it
us.
really brought out the best of us, across society. And
maybe what it did is it brought out the truth, so we saw everyone for what they truly are.
Well, that's a deeper. I'm
a big fan of that.
But the truth is, I mean, I remember, when the vaccine rollout was happening and the Lions were doing their work in Balsall Common, for example, and they were helping support people. We were talking about I helped with the Prime Minister's when he was Chancellor, he was doing the furlough scheme, and he was doing that, and supporting getting the furlough scheme out and running, so protecting jobs. That was hugely important.
Yes, that made a massive difference.
But there was also kind of lots of community effort, people checking in on each other, that sense of family. My big worry was about mental health. I hadn't seen my family for whatever the length of the first lockdown was, and I wasn't able to until restrictions were lifted, etc. And so there was a lot of good people doing great things, and
we saw it here.
People doing great things.
Yeah, we saw it here firsthand. Yeah. It was a joy, in a weird way.
And I was really proud of everyone who was doing what they did. So.
Well. Thank you ever so much for your time. Is there anything you want to add, or?
Well, no. Look, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for having me. Well, thank you for your kind words, and thanks for letting me do my surgeries here.
No, it's good.
And anyone who wants to get in touch, my door's open. Please do it.
I'll try and put your email, or your contact.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that.
Here, yeah. But hopefully we'll see you later in the year when I
look forward to
when the hustings, when it's all announced, we'll organise an event.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
And it'd be good to have a wider ranging conversation about the state of the world.
Yeah, we should. I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Thanks. See you again.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thanks, mate. That was great.
No.